But right now, I'd love your thoughts on self-driving cars, please, because the Department for Transport has announced that they could be permitted on UK motorways later this year. The full name for this type of technology is automated lane keeping systems, and these vehicles would allow hands-free driving on motorways with slow traffic at speeds of up to 37 miles per hour. Now, the government has confirmed that these drivers of these vehicles would not be required to monitor the road or keep their hands on the wheel when the vehicle is driving itself, but the driver will need to stay alert and will need to be able to take over when requested by the car within 10 seconds. And if a driver fails to respond, the vehicle will automatically put its hazard lights on to warn nearby vehicles, slow down and eventually stop. So, wow. So how do you feel about this kind of technology on our roads? Are you excited about being able to allow the car to do more of the work for you so you don't have to have your hands on the wheel all the time? Or are you worried that they won't be able to react quickly enough? 10 seconds is quite a long... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 seconds. So 10 seconds is twice that. 0800 111 40 41. Let's speak to Tom Stacey, who used to work in the car industry. He now lectures at Anglia Ruskin University. Tom, what's your take on this self-driving technology? Good morning.
Good morning, Sadie. Yes, it's obviously something we've spoken about in the past, and I've been on your show and spoken about technology within cars.
Yeah.
As you know, it's an interesting one. One thing that I like to sort of say is self-driving cars is perhaps a little bit of a optimistic term and probably not accurate at the moment. I mean, what we're talking about here is autonomous driver assistance features or systems, and there are various levels of that, you know, from level 1 to level 5. Level 1 being something like cruise control, and level 5 is a car that will come to your door, open the door, pick you up, take you down the shops, park itself, pick you up, bring you back home again, and do the whole lot on its own. We're not anywhere near that yet. What we allow in this country at the moment is a level 2, which is a kind of automated cruise control that will keep its distance and keep the car in the lane with the driver's hands on the steering wheel and keeping alert. And what the government are talking about here is moving to a level 3, but only in certain circumstances, only up to 37 miles an hour. And that means the level 3 means the car will drive itself and you don't need to keep your hands on the wheel. You do need to keep alert, but you don't need to be able to take over immediately. And the systems that are in cars at the moment, you do have to take over pretty much immediately. So it's a long way to full self-driving. And a lot of people that have bought cars like Teslas who sell a package called full self-driving are a little bit kind of peeved that it doesn't full self-drive, even though it was sold as such. But it does obviously clearly explain what it can do, but it's more marketing. But at the moment, we're just talking about systems that are already out there pretty much, but you don't need to keep your hands on the wheel at all times. So it's a slow movement forward, really.
But Tom, 10 seconds seems a long time to me. I mean, how quickly can these cars react if something happens in front, like someone slamming on their brakes or an animal running into the road, even if you are going at 37 miles an hour?
Yeah, that's the interesting one. Now, I've got a car with some of these features in already, and they are held back by legislation, so it can do more than it'll allow you to do on the roads. And I will say, it when it comes to braking, it's really very, very good. It's quicker than me, and you know, it's orders of magnitude faster at thinking than I am really, and processing what's happening on the road. I think at the moment, the car that I drive and a lot of cars with these type of features that will autonomously brake, they're probably a little bit too overcautious. What they will do is they'll brake a bit too readily, actually. So perhaps slightly opposite to what you're saying. And you might get alarmed that, oh, it's just, you know, put the brakes on. And I wouldn't have braked there. I would have left it another half a second, but it's being cautious at the moment. So in terms of hitting things, I think you're probably relatively safe. I mean, you know, with caveats. What really is interesting, like you say, is the 10 seconds. 10 seconds, I agree with you. It's a long time, but I've had this automated lane keeping cruise control on my car for 20 minutes, going up the A12, and I've had my hands on the wheel and I've been ready to take over, but at no time did I think it was going to drive into anything. So, I've been using it. I'm relatively happy with how it performs, but I think, we need to be careful going forward.
Right. Does it create a legal minefield, Tom? I mean, if someone has an accident whilst they're driving one of these vehicles, could they turn around and say, well, the car didn't react?
This again, it's a great question, Sadie. And these systems have been a little bit more lax and have been enabled for longer in the United States, for instance. And there's a lot of reports in the media about how cars such as Tesla, but there are other manufacturers do it as well, like General Motors, how people have had accidents, serious accidents, and occasionally fatal accidents with these systems turned on. And what happens when that happens is there is a full investigation by the National Highway Safety Agency in the States to see what the cause was. And I think I can count on one hand, I don't have the data to hand, where it really was the car's fault and the driver was not using the system correctly. Or sorry, the driver was using the system correctly and it was the car's fault. It's a very low number. Where you hear a lot of reports of this, actually the driver's done silly things, and there was a case in the UK in Nottingham where the driver put the automated cruise control on with the lane keep assisted, got into the passenger seat, had to relax. Well, that's not what this system is designed for, and and had an accident.
That would be really scary, like the Invisible Man driving the car. Lordy, I'd hate that.
Well, what people do for clicks these days on the internet. Yeah, no, there's been a lot of that, and when they've been investigated, the driver's been in the back seat, chilling out with their friends. It's situations like that where you could point the finger at the car, but then the car's going to say, or the manufacturer's going to say, well, hang on a minute, you do have to stay in the driver's seat, you do have to take over. At the moment, you have to take over pretty much instantly, but even 10 seconds, it's not long enough to get out of the rear seat into the driver's seat and take over. So, yeah, that's...
Interesting stuff. Tom, I'm sure that we'll speak again at some point about this because it looks like it's on the way. Tom Stacey used to work in the car industry and he now lectures at Anglia Ruskin University. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today.